Welcome to the Rant Live. Welcome everyone to the Rant Live. Happy April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, and I would love to tell you that everything that we've seen transpire from the Chicago Cubs up until this point was just one big fancy April Fool's joke. Surprise! The Cubs have actually signed Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Javi Baez, and
one of their primary starters is actually healthy. He's not shut down with health.
Life is good. Life is good. So the sad part about this reality is that, this April 1st is that it is a reality. And good to have you back, Evan. You were frozen there for a second.
Yeah, I was just, which worked out well because I said something dumb. And I'm actually posting about Wade Miley right now. So I'm
That's what we're here for.
I get that onto Facebook. So it's always nice to communicate with the folks on Facebook. I had some interesting conversations.
They're lovely people, aren't they?
Oh yeah, there was some old man yelling about stuff. It was actually pretty funny. Let me share this before we get into it, because it was really funny, because this person was mansplaining how, Brennan Davis, that situation is absolutely service time. I was like, well, let's consider, following the Chris Bryant playbook. And I was like, well, let's follow through.
Should we even have to explain this anymore? This is like explaining how oxygen works.
Well, what's funny is this person was adamant that it was service time manipulation. I'm like, not really. He goes like, well, you don't know what service time stuff. You don't even understand service. And I'm like, listen, at the risk of sounding like a jerk and asking if you know who I am, I'm like, do you know who I am? Do you know who you're talking to? And he didn't, and he hadn't read the article. Like, it was something I had written, right? And a lot of times, like, it'll default to Cubs Insider so I first commented, it was actually me. I commented on him and explained, here's the reasons why it's not the same as Chris Bryant, and it's like literally everything is different. But then the next one I did, it defaulted to Cubs Insider. So he's like, then he gets mad. This guy starts DMing the site. He's like, "Oh, really? Who you are? Stop hiding." I'm like, just look at the byline, dude. I don't need to tell you who I am. I commented on there. What's a byline? I don't even know what that is. I'm not some internet geek. It's just the funniest thing. But I'm like, this is what I love, is when people come on there like, you don't understand the situation. I'm like, first of all, I'm the one that wrote it. So, and then second, I'm reasonably sure, like, yeah, are there some things that I don't know as much about as some other folks? Yeah, but I'm going to go way out on a limb and say that I know more about what's going on with service time and other things than this boomer who decided to get in here and get all snippy with me. It was hilarious because everybody in the replies is like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And then he's yelling at it. So anyway, he will no longer be commenting, but it was really funny. He got mad. He was like, well, you banned me. I was like, no, didn't, because if so, you wouldn't be here replying, would you? So it was fun times. Fun times were had by all. Anyway, I just needed to share that.
I'm always intrigued by the fact that you actually humor these people and respond to them whatsoever. I just tend to ignore them completely.
Well, sometimes it pops up. I don't know why. I generally, I don't go looking for it on the sites thing, but sometimes, and I don't know,
you don't have to look for it.
Well, right, it's there. Well, I have to go in if I were to look at the comments on the site's Facebook page. But sometimes if I'm looking at my own, which generally I only use for, like, I'll post pictures of, like when we were out in spring training, right? I posted pictures of myself and Ryan out there, and I'll just go look and, hey, is somebody interacting with it? Whatever. Do I need to, is it my great aunt's birthday or something? I need to wish her happy birthday. But sometimes, like, I'll get notifications in my own personal Facebook about comments. So, like, because I have some buddies too that know, when I write it, like, they know I've written it and they'll comment on there. So I had a friend from home who was writing some stuff, so I was replying in there. And as a result, I happened across this, and I was like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, all right, let me see if I can speak truth to the unwashed masses here. In this case, it was just an unwashed individual. Actually, he was quite washed, if we use the common slang. But it was just hilarious to me. So I'm like, you can't really be this stupid, right? Like, this is the same thing as Bryant. Like, no. And the other thing, here's among other things, we've talked about this on here, but like, Davis doesn't even have as many combined plate appearances across 3-ish seasons. We can't count 2020. If we did, we'd say 4 years, but 3 seasons. He's got fewer than Bryant had in 2 in the minors. And really, that was just 1 full season for Bryant. But, like, Davis hasn't been completely healthy that whole time either. And there's just a lot. There's so much going on there. Like, this is service time manipulation.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. You're explaining something to our audience that you had to explain to somebody who doesn't get it. I would like to think that our audience gets this point, that we
I don't think everybody gets it on the Brennan Davis thing, though. I think the Chris Bryant thing got everybody, like, everybody now is blowing their dog whistle for service time manipulation. And it's like, I mean, you know, we could bitch about Hayward, but the Cubs do have some competent outfielders at this point. Like, and it's not as if this is somebody who's going to put them over the top. And it's, you know, still it's vastly, like, here, I guess here's my thing. There is a difference between saying, I think Brennan Davis should be on the 28-man roster, 26-man roster once it goes down. I think he is good enough to be on there. I think he should be with the Major League club, and I believe they're manipulating his service time. That in and of itself is not correct, but it's at least somewhat justifiable. You could make the argument that he's better than people who are on the roster. But to compare it to Chris Bryant is just egregiously stupid.
All right. I'm going to change the topic. This is enough. This is enough of this.
I want to yell at people.
What I would like to comment on is the new reality for Cubs fans. And so I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, you know, this is really the first season in multiple years that we're heading into a year at the beginning of a regular season where we literally have no hope. I mean, you know, if you look at what we'd have to go back to, I forget kind of what the vibe was heading into 2015, but it wasn't one of no hope. It was one of, hey, things are turning around, and, you know, maybe we can make the playoffs this year, and, you know, things like that. I think after the Cubs got shut down by, was it the Phillies that came in and shut the Cubs down?
Yeah, Cole Hamels no-hit him, broke their no-hit streak.
There was a little, yeah, that was a little tough to swallow, but it's been
July 29th, 28th. Anyway, I'm sorry.
It's been many years since, as Cubs fans, as a collective group, we've had to enter a season like this. And it's hard to do, man. I mean, it's emotional. It's, you know, I mean, when you talk about the service time issue, I mean, just like any topic that comes up seems to be overly emotional, kind of hard to deal with, hard to navigate. Even if it's the good things, signing of Marcus Stroman, you know, the Suzuki signing. I mean, kind of anything, you have to try to interpret what's happening. It's not real clear, just to be honest. Nothing is real clear. I mean, if you look at this team, like, I still can't understand why the Cubs signed Marcus Stroman unless it's to just get assets to trade at the trade deadline. Because when you look at this team and you listen to kind of some of the pundits and, like, you know, some of the bigger outlets, no one's talking about the Cubs. Like, literally, there is not one mention of a Cubs player. There's not one mention of the team. There's not one. No one. And so,
yeah, go ahead.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, but I think that what's more difficult, like 2012 through 14, that was easy because you knew they were going to suck. They told you they were going to suck. They didn't try to get better. They didn't even try to get moderately good free agents. Like, they were just going to be bad. And you knew they were going to lose 100 games or close to it. And at least in that situation, like, when you have let go of expectations, things get a lot easier. There's no anxiety. And then it was like, that's part of the reason 2015 was so good, because you knew that, okay, hey, John Lester is in the fold, right? There's some things that are starting to happen. They have begun in earnest this trek toward being competitive very quickly. Again, I was among those who at the time of that no-hitter felt they mail it in from here. Cool, they finish around 500. Instead, they did the exact opposite, right? 197 games. And that year, particularly after that no-hitter, was the most fun I've had ever as a baseball fan. Like, I can't count. I wasn't old enough in 1984 to really remember it. I mean, that was like what really kind of started my fandom, because they were good and I was watching all the games on WGN, and Ryan Sandberg was my hero and all that. But 2015 was just unadulterated fun because you didn't have those expectations. So the previous 3 years were like, I've got no expectations. I know they're going to suck. So cool. And now it's like, I don't have any expectations, and they're awesome and they're fun and they've got all these young guys. And then 16 was actually more, because people say, well, what about the World Series? It's like, no, because then we expected them to be good. And so now you're sitting there and like every game was sort of different. And this is weird because they sort of gave us some expectations, and then they've done a few things to service those. And then they've done a bunch of other things that every time it's like it would be like going to see a really bad, like Death on the Nile. If you go watch that movie, it's awful in my opinion. And it's just a whole bunch of red herrings with no payoff. And that's what I feel like. I'm watching the moves and I'm like, oh, well, this could be indicative of maybe they'll, nope. Oh, well, ooh. But over here,
you like see a path to something
and
good.
It's just a dead end. It's it's a choose your own adventure, and you're like, oh hell yeah, man! I know where this. Nope, dead end there. I'm walking through this like hedge maze. Ugh, shit. Well, that's not it. And you're like, okay, well, what are they doing? They're not doing what they said. They didn't do the things they said they were gonna do that would have made the team better. And then there's all these other weird, inexplicable moves, like stockpiling a bunch of mediocre middle infielders and pitchers that isn't doing anything. So one of whom is now hurt. So great.
Yeah. Wade Miley has multiple shoulder soreness.
Andrelton Simmons is down with a shoulder issue, right? Like Miley's got the elbow thing. Just bleh.
Yeah. It's confusing. I think the way I look at it is, honestly, it's like they have a team that's going to struggle to be 500. I wish that wasn't true, but I'm just speaking what I believe the truth to be. And they've acquired some assets that they are going to try to flip again at the trade deadline. That being Marcus Stroman. I wouldn't be surprised to see him flip Madrigal. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they can't flip Suzuki. I think they want to keep Suzuki here because there's a large Japanese following that I think is very beneficial to ownership. And so I think that was a strategic move to drive revenue. And I think that's why Ricketts got involved in the pitch to Suzuki, because he saw it as an opportunity to drive revenue when otherwise it's going to be really just a disastrous season. And so it's kind of sad. It's kind of hard. I mean, as a Cubs fan, especially, I mean, there are a lot of bandwagon Cubs fans that have jumped on the bandwagon. And like right now, I'm assuming there are a lot of Cubs fans that jumped on that bandwagon that are now thinking maybe the Dodgers are a good destination.
Hell, there's a lot of teams that are better. The Phillies, man. The Phillies have got, that's a hell of a lineup they've got out there. So, like, you look at Schwarber and Castellanos and Harper, all three of whom could be Cubs right now under different circumstances. And then like Hoskins and Real Muto, like they've got some dudes over there. And they've spent some money on the pitching staff. It's weird how that works. It's very strange how that happens. Speaking of which, I had somebody tell me the other day that, because you and I were talking about this when I was out there, that the kind of the apathy toward Cubs tickets, the fact that opening day is not sold out, the fact that season ticket would-be season ticket holders are getting their 7th last and final notice to pay the deposit. Somebody tried to explain to me that it would be the same situation even if the Cubs had spent $200 million on the payroll. And I had to struggle from just absolutely losing my shit on this person, because I'm like, if the Cubs had a $200 million payroll and they were expected to win, I will guarantee you they would not be having these same problems. Like, if people felt like this team was spending to win, they would absolutely, after the last 2 years of all this COVID stuff and seeing the thing struggle, if they had rebuilt that and gotten in a premier free agent hitter and really looked like they were going for it in what is a middling division, of course people would be more excited about it. That's wild to me. It's like, they told me the primary reason is because of the World Series, that the vibe is different. And while I will agree with that, I would say that it is far more about how the team has handled their post-World Series success than it is simply fans losing that, whatever that little edge is, and that kind of hopefulness that now we've got it and it's over. I don't believe for a second that the apathy is rooted primarily in not having that first World Series to shoot for. And I'd be willing to bet sizable amounts of money, that if you were to poll people, it's more about what ownership has done and how management has handled these last several years more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that knows about the situation. And then you've got the optics of the Ricketts family, kind of pressing so hard to get this Chelsea bid, or to purchase Chelsea, the English Premier League football team. And it's just such bad optics. Everything that's taken place over the last few years, what we're going through right now, the fact that there's no real clear line of communication to the fans, we're not really being told what's happening. What we're being told isn't being executed. Power arms, there are no power arms. There was no attempt to get power arms. Are there power arms in the system? Yes. Are we going to see them this year? Not in the starting lineup. And so, or I mean, not as a starting pitcher. You might see some, bullpen arms, but it's just with Chelsea, this Chelsea bid, and now they're trying to, and you've got the fans of Chelsea, and God bless them, bless their heart, because they're coming out. They're actually having a rally. I think it was today. Maybe it's going on right
tomorrow.
Now.
It's
against
tomorrow.
Ricketts ownership.
Noon
Saturday.
That
what? At least they had the foresight to do that. I mean, as Cubs fans, we didn't know. This guy seemed great, right? He came in, he was super nice to everybody, walking around, total politician, snow job completely. But now it's like on the surface. It's like, It's like almost like he doesn't even care what people think of him anymore. Like the perception of Ricketts to the Chicago fan base, it's just been thrown out the window completely. It really seems like he just doesn't care. But then he stands up. I mean, so that's his actions. But then he'll stand up in front of a group of people every once in a while when he's not trying to avoid Cubs fans now, and sit there and act like, I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, everything's great. Like the Marquee Network. You guys are going to love Marquee in a year. Nope. Been a couple years, still not in love. It's as if he believes that if he says the thing, it will be what we believe. And it's like we're inanimate objects that he just bounces words off of to make himself believe that things are going well.
So what you're saying is like a billionaire silver spoon fail son who has really only had to look at other people as kind of objects and sort of people with whom he has to interact on his way to whatever his ultimate goal truly is. And those other people generally, I think, serve to either, I think it's actually, let me put it this way. I think a lot of these people look at things like they surround themselves with yes men. And so they look only for opinions that back what they want. And then I think a lot of times when they hear conflicting narratives or somebody's telling them something that doesn't agree with what they want, they just don't listen to it. I don't know, but it is hilarious to me. If you go on Twitter and search the hashtag no to Ricketts, I mean, it is a full-on movement. They've got flyers promoting, digital flyers promoting this protest. I mean, maybe it's out there and I'm not paying attention to the other. There are four finalists for this, right? And among them, you've got the Dodgers owner, you've got the Boston Celtics owner, you've got ownership stakes in, I think, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Sacramento Kings, Serie A of Italy, right? You've got all these people who are out there. And what's hilarious, there's two different flyers that are out. There's three. One of them just pretty plain. It's like, hey, join us at whatever the location is. Was it Stamford Bridge? Is that what it's called? I believe is where the pitch is located, right?
Where Chelsea is, yeah.
And so that's where it's being held, like at their state. So imagine fans rallying to go to Wrigley and protest the owners in large, but they list, one of them lists out all the racist and homophobic things that the Ricketts family members have said, whether it be in emails or out loud, or so, like Pete and Joe and some of the other ones. And then there's another one that lays out all these. I want to look at this for a second, because I want to read these down, because this is like, and remember, these are Chelsea fans doing this, but it's one, pay cuts to Chicago Cubs employees during COVID-19 at a time when Chelsea employees remain on full pay. 2, Chicago Cubs fans' pockets are being milked for some of the most expensive tickets and fan experiences in MLB. 3, Tom Ricketts Stadium stated that the stadium redevelopment project had gone around 100% over budget. 4, the Ricketts claimed losses of biblical proportions. And it goes on. But you look at this, you're like, this is like a Cubs fan. This is like what I'm like, man, this feels like our show for the last 2 years. They're just going through everything. It's so funny, because they're sitting there going, on one hand, we don't like this family as people. We think they are bad people, and here are examples of why we believe that. The other one is, here's why we think they'd be bad owners, and here's what they've done with the ownership of their current, iconic franchise. And then, but Ricketts is like trying to double down on this. No, they're not. Like, they're not
wrong.
And but they've just, initially, they flew out there to London, they met with these groups, and then they became the favorites, at least from a Vegas betting line perspective. And then that fell back, and there's like, okay, they're not favorites. And now, so they've already got not only so Rain acquisitions, or I guess that's part of it. So Rain is the large investment bank or whatever that's brokering this sales process, right? The Cubs have a relationship with Rain in their marquee Rain acquisition group. They've got an SPAC with them that is out there actually exploring digital opportunities, sports gambling, other sports investments, right? So the Ricketts family is already aligned with Rain. Not that gives them, but some people believe that they've been shown preferential treatment through this process because of that. But then they're also aligned with was it Ken Griffin, right? The evil kind of hedge fund guy. And now they've got Jeffries, which is a major investment bank. And there's another one so they've got like 2 different investment banks. Like, they are continuing to add to their consortium that they're putting together here. So this isn't scaring them off.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, so you, again, we've made it very clear on this, but there is absolutely no way that you can keep seeing these things and say, yeah, man, professional sports probably aren't a really good investment. We totally believe what these people are saying, because these guys are going hard after this. And I understand that it's different, but look at who's involved in this. And of all the groups involved, at least 3 of them have either full control or some very large investment stake in American professional sports. It is very obvious that professional sports is a very, very advantageous investment for the mega rich people out there. And the Ricketts family is among those, and they obviously see this as, but, at the same time, like, what their pursuit of Chelsea right now is clearly being done with a good deal more zest or vigor or whatever you want to put into it than what their management, what their stewardship of the Cubs has been since winning the World Series. And I think therein lies, as you said, a problem with optics, and something that I think fans are having a very difficult time swallowing, is that it looks like this is, the pursuit of something new and sexy while you're letting your current investment kind of languish here. And that is very unfortunate, whether that's accurate or not, right? I totally understand that there are some differences between those items, but it's just not a good look for them, and fans are not taking kindly to it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, I think something that we see a lot as bloggers is there's the reality. I mean, when you start to talk about service time manipulation or Ricketts, and whether people believe owning a team or the message that the commissioner is trying to get across about owning a team isn't a good investment. There's the reality, which I think we generally prescribe to, versus like this abject type of perception that just is false, right? And that has a place in this world, largely due to social media, because now everybody has a voice. And so it becomes, very much like you would expect in some type of almost like a dictatorship type government, where there's so much static out there that it becomes difficult for some people to really grasp what the true reality of the situation is. And I think that's what Ricketts wants to try to take advantage of, is like, that static. But it's on his side, and on what he's doing here with this Chelsea bid. I just think it's just, there aren't enough gullible people in the world, or at least around Cubs fandom, to fall for what is happening here. And will the Cubs be good in 2 to 3 years? Yes, if things fall the way they should. And I think when you were here, Evan, I was saying right now we're basically in 2013 again.
Mm-hmm.
We have there's no real way of competing this season. Chances are the Cubs are going to be right around 65 wins. Next season, we're going to be hoping the Cubs are over 70 wins. And then in 2024, you can expect the Cubs to start to compete again. That's kind of what it seems like the path we're on. And then the team's going to be good. I mean, they've got a lot of young talent, and I think they're going to trade the guys that they've got. Any of these kind of like quality major league guys. I mean, I would expect Ian Happ to go, to the extent that he actually plays well. I mean, they're obviously going to hold on to Jason Hayward because they have to. But Wilson Contreras is going to go. I mean, I think any and everybody who's not on, who's not in the minor league system, basically, or at least on the first year of their big league deal, is probably going to be gone. You can expect that, or at least they will try to flip them. I just think that's the reality of where we are. And so, and that's the thing that, when, granted, it was Theo that was saying it, but when Theo came in and Ricketts was standing there right next to him, the message was, we're building a team that wants to compete for a World Series every single year. And certainly I think Theo did that. I think he failed in delivering on that promise, but where we are right now and where we're headed, we're completely back to where we were at 2012. So it's just, you can't just keep lying to the fans and losing. You can lie and win, but you can't lie and lose.
No, because then people start asking questions, right? That's the thing, is that if winning cures all, right? And winning also leads to people kind of not really looking underneath the hood, so to speak. Not in a gross Andrew Giuliani way. And if you want to know what I mean there, just go look up that dude's just, that's disgusting. He's an odd, apple didn't fall far from the tree on that one. But there's just something, if you say we have the resources to build a competitive team this year, not in 3 years, not 2025, this year, and you don't actually go out and do that. You say we need power arms. That's our number one priority. That's what we're going to go get. And you don't do that. You say it's not a rebuild, and then you trade everybody again if that happens. And I'm a little bit, I don't tend to believe they'll be as active with trying to move everything that's not nailed down as maybe what you are. But I don't believe that's impossible either, right? But if all those things happen, I keep looking at this and going, okay, surely, if it was lip service to sell tickets, they did a really shitty job. Sorry, I'm just talking in response to the comments, because they're not doing a good job of selling tickets. They're doing a very, very poor job of it. And that's the issue, right? We're already seeing how sluggish season ticket sales are, how sluggish regular season tickets are for single game stuff. If they do this again and they trade, let's say it's Contreras and Stroman and Happ. Let's just say it's those and a couple other guys who are. What the hell are you going to sell people on for next year? Like that's
they're not
right, and that's what I'm looking at this just purely from a business perspective, and that's where I'm looking at it going. A lot of people are like, well, Tom Ricketts is a businessman. Okay, that's great. But if he continues to run this, if it follows that track, that is really, really stupid from a purely business perspective, because now you've gotten rid of all of your fan favorites. You've gotten rid of any chance of competitiveness again for another year. And I said when if they trade Darvish, that'll mean they're punting on 2 seasons. It might even be 3, but I'm trying to wrap my head around this just from an absolutely pragmatic point of view, and think about it like it is insanely stupid on the part of ownership, Chelsea bid aside, to do the things they've done, knowing that you need, and I don't believe the 70% thing, but knowing that you need a significant game day traffic, or you take the A out of there, you need significant game day traffic. You need to get people in that ballpark. That was the reason you bought the franchise in the first place. And now you're actively doing things to sabotage the main concept behind this vibe of it's different here and whatever. You're trying now to sell the vibe without putting the product on the field, while still charging the highest prices in the league, in the entire majors, for your overall experience. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And to think people are still going to keep buying that after years of eroding that product and taking away from it actively, right, and lying to people about it, or at least, making promises that you later cannot fulfill. It's like the deadbeat dad or something. Like, I'm really struggling with how, because then you go from being, oh, he's a ruthless businessman just trying to make profits, to then like, no, this is not, you're not making profits then, or at least not profiting as much. And I can't imagine a billionaire being like, oh, I'm cool with just a fraction of the profits I could make. I struggle with that more than the other stuff.
It almost feels like they're only really concerned in asset appreciation.
That's interesting.
That is the play, people. You try to make money. Obviously, you want to be able to make money as much as you can, but the long play is asset appreciation. Everybody knows that. Anybody who is of any level of understanding around Major League Baseball ownership and professional sports teams ownership knows that it is a game of asset appreciation. 100%, because you don't get taxed on asset appreciation.
The Cubs don't need to be good?
Nope.
What?
And here's the thing is that what Ricketts has done is he's bought up around Wrigley Field. So if one day or when they sell the team, they're still going to own all that around Wrigley Field. So, yeah. And again,
maybe that one day
not get taxed on asset appreciation until you realize the game. Realizing the gain means actually selling it. That's a realization of a gain. And so that doesn't have to happen for years. And the value of the money that they originally put in, which was, I think, $800 million or something.
Yeah, it was 8 or 9. Yeah. Give or take.
Continues to build. Well, they got money in their bank account. They're earning money in many other ways. They don't need cash flow to buy their houses, to buy their cars, to feed themselves. This is an investment, strict investment. And I think people really need to understand that. So when we sit and we analyze these moves on a daily basis, at the micro level, they're looking big picture, man. They're looking at what the Cubs are now worth $3.8 billion.
Yeah, it's up 13% from last year.
That's the latest valuation. 13% gain on a multi-billion-dollar investment. People, there is very few places that you can invest billions of dollars and get a 13% gain. Very few places. So it's just
because you ain't buying $3 billion worth of any company's stock, right? Nobody's going to be like, yes, I will sell you controlling interest in my company.
And
so that's not going to work.
But I get that there are a lot of people that don't understand that, don't care about that, and want to look past that. But
and it would just like them to realize some gains in competitiveness. That's where I would like them to realize gains. I would like them to profit.
Dare you talk about competitiveness?
You bastards. But
so there's a reason the show's called The Rant, and you guys are seeing it. But here's the deal, man. Minor league assignments coming soon. The guys are on airplanes, I believe. I don't know that
AAA took off yesterday. A lot of them, not all of them, because there's some still stuff, but a lot of them shipped out yesterday for Iowa. Should be tomorrow for AA and high A, and I believe Sunday for low A. That's my understanding of it. And a lot of those dudes, because here's the thing: minor leaguers were in camp the whole time, but they had all these extra. You have non-roster invitees. You have guys who are going. So once the major league season starts up, spring training, that is, there's a lot to be determined. So, most of these guys are hanging on, and they may know by now, but I know a lot of them had no clue. They knew it could be here or there. It's not like James Triantos isn't going to AAA, but a lot of these dudes have been around even for a couple years, had no idea where they were going to end up. So, hopefully that gets sorted out here. We'll know by this weekend, where everybody's.
Yeah, I mean, one of those guys was Max Bain, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of them. I think a lot of those guys, when you look from the rotation in particular, and that's where when you sign these guys like a Gesellman or Stephen Brault, although his got reworked and he's hurt anyway, so I don't think that really factors. But now you've got all these different things going on. Okay, Miley, think about just the domino effect of Miley being hurt, right? They said he's shut down for 10 days. So he's almost certainly going to be on the IL, right? I mean, he's got to be. If he's shut down for 10 days, he can't be on the roster on the 7th. So there's an IL spot. Mills takes that, but then you figure 28-man, okay, somebody else has to move up into that pitching move. Is that another starter to give him depth? Well, that's a guy who's not going to be in Iowa, right? Then those things move up. But let's say he's not on the IL. Well, that's a guy who now is in Iowa. And then Brault is maybe stashed in Iowa, even if he's on the IL. And maybe Gesellman gets stashed. Maybe you move some of these guys down the line. Well, that pushes somebody back to AA Tennessee. That could push Bain back to South Bend. That pushes somebody else down. So there's all this because you don't have the short season team anymore. You don't have as many of those affiliates. And there's not as many spots to sort of stash guys. And so, I think that's what's kind of tough. And where I have a problem with it, just personally, right? We're talking about this. If the team, whether or not they're trying to compete or whatever they're trying to do, I don't want to see Robert Gesellman or Stephen Brault or somebody who's, no offense to those guys, I'd love to see them be able to pursue their careers and make money playing baseball. But the Chicago Cubs aren't going to benefit at all from some dude who's a middling, low ceiling hybrid type, maybe starter, maybe long reliever. Give me the young guys. Give me some dudes give me Cole Franklin, man. That guy's throwing 100 and he's already got a money changeup. I don't care. Like, let him figure out on the fly. You've only got so many bullets in your gun as a pitcher, right? Pitching is different from hitting when it comes to service time manipulation, stuff like that, because you never know what could happen, right? Give me Max up higher in the system. Give me Ethan Roberts and Manny Rodriguez and Rowan Wake will be up there for sure, but give me those young guys who are throwing hard, moving them up the thing and getting going. But one other thing, here's another thing I do want to, like, this is just when you comment, this is just a lesson to people. If you're going to go out and comment on sites, Facebook or whatever, right? When I mentioned the other day, right? Because Wade Miley has not appeared in anything. We've not seen him do anything publicly. He hadn't appeared in a game, right? Because he was clearly dealing with some stuff. Because if he was fully healthy, he'd have been part of the rotation and moving on, right? So I wrote about that. I was like, it's a pitching situation. It's like he's been dealing with some injuries. And then somebody has the audacity to comment like, he's not dealing with an injury. And that was like yesterday or 2 days ago. I want to go on there and be like, oh, what you're saying, right? Like, and that's not like, as much as sometimes I enjoy being an asshole, right? But I'm like, you know that between common sense and Google, you could figure some stuff out. Like, you don't have to go out and make yourself and prove to other people that you're an idiot. Like, you can be ignorant and just keep that to yourself, and nobody else even has to know it.
But that's not how ignorance works, dude.
Right, that's true.
The
whole point is you have to make it known because you don't know any better. But yeah, that's but that's what, if you just like peruse the backfields for a while, you'll start seeing, and that was like when we were out there, you'll see guys hitting, whether it's BP, you'll see them playing in games. And there's some other guys who you might not see it all. And as you're looking around, you're like, well, hey, I haven't seen this dude in a while. And they're not reporting on minor league injuries. But if you go out there for a few days in a row and you don't see somebody who's like kind of one of their higher up dudes, and you're sitting there wondering, like, why isn't this guy out here? There must be something wrong. I wonder if he's hurt. And so that kind of clues you in on a few things. Again, just one of the reasons why it's great to be out there and kind of having some fun on the backfields. You learn a little bit. It's weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll find out over the next few days kind of where everybody settles on their minor league assignments, which will be cool. I would say this to every fan and everybody who's listening to us: go out there and support the minor league teams. Go to the ballparks, spend your money going to those minor league affiliates. I mean, that's where the true baseball is being played. Forget the circus that is Chicago for now. Don't worry about what's happening there. I know you want to, but really what's happening at Chicago is really happening in, the various minor league cities, Tennessee, South Bend, Myrtle Beach, and Iowa. So that's where I would spend my money. That's where it's, to be honest with you, it's an easier experience to kind of deal with. Parking's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of talent is way, way greater than what you're going to be seeing on the field for Chicago. I want to be wrong.
Relatively speaking, yeah. So like, and here's one thing I'll share, right? Like as I'm going out there, you're looking at guys, I'm just looking at the top prospects list right now. So when we're out there, go out to the backfields between either BP or some of the live games. I mean, we saw Brennan Davis, Christian Hernandez, James Triantos. Did not see Killian throw or Wicks. We saw Pete Crow Armstrong out there. Owen Casey. Hers was throwing. I know Marquez was out there. I saw Preciado. Amaya is hurt, but he was walking around. Ed Howard's been out there. Made was out there. Velasquez. So I'm looking at all these guys. Canario. I'm going through, basically, and I think of their top 25 prospects, I think all of them, Aliendo, Rivas is up with the big club. Wogu was out there. The only one I didn't see was Kevin Alcantara. And that's what I don't, maybe it was a totally minor thing. Maybe he turned his ankle, like rounding second base or something like that. I don't know, but I didn't see him out there. And so, but that's one thing. So if you're excited for that and you ever go out to spring training, like definitely go see a game at Sloan or whatever. But if you really want to save some of your money and you're like, I'd like to see some of this, like go down there at 10 in the morning. You got BP on 4 fields all at once. You're going to have minor league games in the afternoon. Oh, there's AA. Well, there's AAA. So anyway,
well, it was a trip the day we went down there. So we went to a Cubs game at the spring training game in Sloan Park. Is packed, tons of people, lines everywhere. And then afterwards, we went over to the backfields. It's just so serene. There's 2 games going on, a AA and a AAA game going on at the same time, that you're literally just standing in between the 2 fields, so close to the action, right next to the players. Only really there's wives and girlfriends back there, and players, really.
Yeah.
It was such a different experience, but it was like, honestly, it was so much better. I mean, you couldn't get a beer. I mean, I guess it was the only downside. You couldn't get something to drink.
Could have brought some in a cooler, but there's little tarps, there's canopies. You're in the shade. There's a little bit of breeze going on back there. It's quiet. You're hearing the crack of the bat. You're watching them hit home runs and go all over the place. Bryce Ball was hitting. Greg Dykman.
You hear what they're saying to each other.
Yeah, they're all just talking, chilling. We saw Scott Cobos pitch, friend of the show. Absolutely, it's the best way to do it. But the next best thing is go out to the minor league ballparks. Go see that stuff. And support those guys, support those teams and those local communities. And we'll find out which players are going to be where here coming up real soon. So
cool. So next week on Tuesday, we're going to have a special guest, Taylor McGregor, who is the sideline reporter for Marquee Sports Network, and she should be fun. She's super nice. Met her in person at one of the games when Crowley was out here with Club 400, and they were being interviewed in the outfield about Club 400, Stuart McVicker as well. And, I was kind of sitting behind them in the interview. So if you saw the interview, that was me sitting right behind him. But like everybody else moved, and I'm like, why should I move? This is where I'm sitting. I mean, she just came up and started talking to him. So I just hung out there for a little while. I don't think it was too awkward, but afterwards, she turned around and we had a couple of words, and she was really super
nice. That makes
nice.
It sound like you were cursing at each other. We had words.
We had nice words, and so she agreed to come on this show, and so that'll be fun. So join us on Tuesday. There's a couple games. Spring training winding down. Going to be done Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, and then opening day is Thursday. Looks like now they're saying rain. It says 50% chance of rain on Thursday, so I'm not sure. I do have a ticket to opening day, but I'm kind of on the fence, and now I'm even more on the fence because I'm definitely not down with flying from Phoenix to Chicago for one day. And my son's birthday is April 9th, which happens to be on Saturday. So it's a little bit more important for me to be here for that, but not that I would miss that. But the idea was to fly out for the game and then come back. And so if it's going to rain, I'm not sure what I'm going to end up doing. I'm 50-50 right now. So
fun times.
We'll see what happens. Either way, guys, have a great weekend. Let's not worry about the Cubs. Let's go out and enjoy. Hopefully the weather's nice where you are. It's not going to be nice. I don't know. Is it snowing in Chicago right now?
I don't know. I woke up to snow, so there's that.
It's actually the next few days in the Midwest look bad. 100% chance of rain in Chicago on Saturday. Rain for the next several days. So kind of the right way to bring this regular season in, right? To welcome the regular season to just a bunch of rain and clouds and stuff.
Fun times.
Whatever. Anyways, everyone have a nice weekend. We'll see ya.